Another thing I would like to mention here is a teeny tiny FAQ. And this is one of the most common questions, especially when people are starting working with waveRAPID, is like, oh, I can see that for the fit you are only using dissociation parts, but how is it possible? How can you determine also on rates from dissociation parts only? So this is an example of the data, right? And as you can see here in blue, it's a little bit maybe hidden, but we here are only using dissociation parts for the fitting. So there is like 5 small dissociation parts and then the last long one. And with a given set of parameters, the response may look like this. But actually, each dissociation starts at the level which depends on the association rate. So if you will take end of one dissociation and the beginning of next dissociation, it's actually bearing the information about on rate. And all of these fragments together, they are really, really bearing this information. And we can see an example here. So now we have a given set of parameters with on rate that is fixed. And now we will make it 3 times smaller. And this is what will happen. So you can see that the overall shape of the rapid curve is now different. There is more time needed for the interaction to happen. So also we can see that everything is lower. We have less curvature in the last pulse, and really we can see the difference. And the same situation is when we will go faster. Now we will have Ka, that is 3 times the initial ones. And now you can see that we are actually doing everything faster and we are reaching saturation faster. There is really information about on rate in the shape of the dissociation parts only. Another question that is actually combined to this one. Okay, so as default, we are only using dissociation parts, but what if I want to see this data? Or what if I would like to use this data for my analysis? These are the options. So I would like to show you the option of point weights and injections here. Yes, you can also use association parts. So as you can see, point weights function is in display part of the software, and injection parts is in the kinetic settings part, and this will be important. So as default, which is recommended for really most of the cases, we have point weights enabled, so we are only showing the data that is being used for calculations, which is dissociation parts. Injections are off, as you can see here. So we are only using dissociation parts of calculation. So also what we are showing and what we are using is also shown on this picture. But we have other options. We can disable point weights. In that way, we are showing all the data. Now, both association and dissociation parts are shown on the graph. However, this may be misleading because the injections part are actually not used for calculations. You can turn it on to see how it looks like. However, you need to be aware that they were not used for calculations. We can also turn injections on and use them for analysis. This is this case. Now I enabled point weights, but I turned on injections. Because I turned them on, they also appeared because this data is now used for analysis. And this is usually recommended when there is really additional information there, such as, for example, biphasic behavior that is deviating from 1 to 1. However, you need to remember that there has to be no mismatch in this data. So in that case, actually, you can see the parameters are not really different. So either we are using or not using these association parts, we are getting the same numbers. But we can have other less clean examples, like this one, for example. Here, if we disable point weights, we can see that there is quite some mismatch between injections and dissociation parts. So when we will turn on injections and we will try to force the software to use them for calculations, well, it will do its best to fit it. However, as you can see here, it's fitting something in the middle of injections and dissociation. So in that case, I wouldn't use injections for the fitting and really stick to the default settings.